all of that, and it ain't got no gas in it. And over the past few years, we've been kind of finding out that that's not such a bad thing. So this one here specifically is the Toro E26 Power Max 2-stage 60-volt snowblower. That's a mouthful. But this one here is courtesy of Toro. They sent this one for me to test out, and there was no way that I was going to turn that down. If you guys watch my channel, you know that I love to build things and make things and stuff like that, but I am also super passionate about tools, and this thing's freaking awesome. There was no way that I was turning down the opportunity to kind of put this thing to the test. So getting right into it, the first thing that I noticed was how easy it was to get going. It is as simple as taking the 2 charged batteries, putting those into the unit. There's space for 3. This one did come with the 2 7.5 amp hour batteries, but you could go up to, I believe, 3 10 amp hour batteries. Once you have the batteries in, you turn the key. There's an option for the eco mode, which there was no way we were using that to start off with. I wanted to see the full power of this thing, and once you turn the key, you're ready to go. Getting it out in the snow, the first thing that I found out was this thing is stupid fast compared to any other snowblower that I've used. If you've used Toro snowblowers before, you probably understand how fast these things are. But I put this thing all the way in the 6th highest drive setting, and I wanted to see what this thing could do, and it was quick. I was able to do my driveway in right under 5 minutes. My driveway is probably about the equivalent of like a 7.5 car driveway based on their calculations, and that took like under 5 minutes. I was able to maneuver easy enough to do the sidewalk leading up to my front porch, and then it took me probably less than 5 minutes to do the rest of my sidewalk. And like, this thing was chewing through snow, and I just wanted to keep going. So I went over and did my neighbor's house as well. Yet again, another 5 minutes to do his driveway, 5 minutes to do the sidewalk in front of his house. Things were going pretty well. Now, the one thing that I was a little skeptical about the first time that I used it was the power level, but I had to kind of check myself. My expectations were probably a little bit too high. The snow that we had the first time that I was able to use it was 5 inches thick, but it was a really wet, thick snow, and it had come down in like a 3-inch increment. It rained a little bit, and then about another 2 inches or so. So it was thick, heavy stuff. It was barely cold enough out there for stuff to be freezing, and there was a little bit of ice in there as well. Plus, I was pushing this thing to the limit speed-wise. Like I said, I had it full cranked, full tilt on 6. This thing was moving, and it was chewing through snow, but you could hear that motor bogging down or straining just a little bit. But I had to kind of check myself. Like, I think pretty much any snowblower out there would suffer from the similar thing. And every time I used this afterwards, I got more and more confident in it, especially when I was able to use it in some snows that weren't so icy thick and heavy. You really saw how powerful this thing was. There were just some times where you did have to pull it out of the top speed 6 gear, which I don't know how many people snowblow in that gear anyway. That's more of a transport gear. But if you want to, it'll do it. And so the more I started using this, the more I found out how actually powerful this thing was. Any snow that we went through, and granted here in Ohio, we had a snow of like 5-ish inches. We had about 6, and then another 4-inch snow. So I haven't had the really deep, thick snow that everybody puts on their YouTube channels where this thing's blasting through 12 inches of snow or 24 inches of snow. And from their videos, it looks like it has plenty of power to do so. I was able to take it out and get it to go through some different conditions. I had piles of snow that I had snow blown or higher drifts that I was able to go through, and it went through them perfectly fine. Yet again, you just had to go a little bit slower, dial it back on the speed down to the slowest setting, and let that auger kind of catch up, but it would move any snow that I wanted. I was able to take it out to the end of the driveway and have it go through the slush. And if you've ever tried to shovel that stuff, you know how heavy that is and how cumbersome that is. In this thing, it didn't throw it very far, but it picked it up and moved it pretty well. Yeah, you could hear the motor was working, but it did exactly what it needed to do, and it moved that slush out of the way. So I was pretty impressed with the power level there as well. I took it out a few days after a snow, and I on purposely didn't do my sidewalk and kind of let it crust over and ice over. And this thing plowed right through the ice. It was ripping up. It was probably 1.5 inches thick of icy snow junk. And this thing powered right through it and got rid of that stuff. So as far as the power level, seems to be doing pretty well. It's going to be very comparable probably to something of comparable size, But the batteries and the electric motor in this thing are definitely well powered enough to do what this thing is advertised to do. So then even a more obvious thing that I noticed was how quiet this thing was. From the first time that I started up and while using it, you really appreciate the quietness of this. And one of the major advantages from going from gas to electric or trying one of these electric snowblowers is the noise level. Yes, you're still probably supposed to use hearing protection while you use one of these, but like it is crazy how quiet this thing is. I'll even turn it on here. We're in an enclosed garage, so it's a little bit more echoey, so I don't know how this is going to sound, but at one point I turned it on in my house, which is definitely not recommended. But we turn this on, a flywheel is going to kind of kick on, and even if I started the auger, we can still hear ourselves. Turning on the eco mode slows everything down a little bit, so it's even more quiet, turning on the auger. And that's it. Like, it's really kind of cool. It's really cool how easy it is to start. Just turn the key, pull the handle and go. But while you're using it, it is so darn quiet. It's kind of nice. Don't get me wrong. I love the roar of an engine and American freedom as much as the next guy. But having something that's this quiet can definitely be a huge advantage. I would not feel bad about going out early in the morning before I go to work and snowblowing the driveway if I needed to, or if it was getting later at night, yet again using this later at night and snowblowing the driveway, I wouldn't worry too much about making the neighbors angry because it's really not that much louder even when you're blowing snow than when we just tested it out here. Then the next thing that kind of caught my eye, and I originally thought it was going to be a downer, but ended up being one of the strongest suits of this thing, was the controls. Initially, when you look at the control panel up here, there is nothing special going on. It's very simple and very just plain. And when I pulled it out of the box, I was like, oh man, crazy big, powerful snowblower. We're gonna have all kinds of cool doodads and stuff like that. And you look at the controls and it's pretty darn simple. But within engineering and design, simplicity is probably always best. And when I actually started using this thing, the more I used it, the more I liked it. The simplicity just made it so stinking easy to use. Taking a look at the controls on here, you have a lever that has all the drive settings like I was talking about before. You have 6 forward settings and 2 reverse settings. The nice thing about this is that the 6th drive setting is pretty darn fast. Probably most people use that for a transport setting rather than an actual snow blowing setting, but I was definitely able to use it and loved it and got stuff done real fast. But the nice thing about it is when you're not actually, you don't have the handle depressed and you're not using the drive, it is always in neutral. So I never actually used the reverse settings on this. The machine is well built enough and balanced that, yeah, it's a really big machine, but it doesn't feel any bigger maneuverability wise. I didn't have any problems maneuvering it to where I needed to use that reverse settings. And in neutral, you just whip it around to move it around. I felt it very easy to maneuver. And the speed controls were awesome on this thing. Once you have it in the speed control that you want, the handle on the left-hand side is the place where you put it in drive. You just pull the handle down, depress it down, and it goes into drive very nicely. The clutch system on that or belt system on that is really nice and kind of smooth into things. Then the next switch that I thought was going to be a little overrated was the hand warmers. I will report back that they work and that I could actually feel them through my gloves. If you're not using a crazy, intense, thick pair of gloves, you're actually gonna feel those hand warmers on your hands, and they take the cold off. They take the bite off of working outside. So those hand warmers were really nice. That's controlled on a switch there, whether you want them or not. On the right-hand side, you have the switch for the auger that starts the 2-stage system that kicks both of those on. And when you're operating the machine, you just have both hands on those and you're holding those down and it works pretty good. Then in the center, you have the quick stick system that they have for operating the chute and the direction, the height, and how that's gonna spray out of there. Initially, it felt a little awkward or a little jerky, but once you use it 2 or 3 times, it really comes in natural and you're not even thinking about anything. It all goes into your hand motion. You move the stick back and forth to move the chute back and forth, and then you depress the button and push it either forward or back to get it to shoot farther up or lower down and out depending on where you need to throw the snow. Some of the other snowblowers that I saw had all kinds of crazy buttons and switches, and you could control the drive speed independently from the auger speed, and it gave you a lot of control, and you could whatever. This just takes all the thinking out of it, and it's just stupid easy to use. Like, you hop on it, you go, and whatever's working is working, and you do it. And so that worked out really well. Then as far as the construction of this thing, I was a little leery hearing about electric products. I have been switching over a lot of my outdoor power tools to electric equipment, and the one thing that I'm finding out is there's a lot of plastic. And yes, there's a little bit of plastic on this. This has a plastic cover, this thing is plastic up here, but they're not real strength components. The only thing that I'm disappointed in the plastic is this lid. I wish this was a little less flimsy and a little less plasticky, but it really doesn't need to be any stronger than that, so I guess that's a little just nitpicky item for me. But when you take a look at this, like, everything is solid steel, and it seems to be built on the same exact frame with everything the same as the gas variant. The only difference being the electric motor that's on here. I believe it has the same belt system. I believe it has the same frame, all of the same parts, except for the minor changes that they had to make to put the electric motor and batteries on here. So as far as build construction goes, it seems like if you're pretty happy with Toro products, and they are known for reliability and different things like that, that this is gonna have the same build quality minus this little plastic lid here, which really doesn't matter for anything. So kind of wrap this whole thing up, I hope you guys realize that I'm not trying to sell you a snowblower here. Toro reached out and asked me if I wanted to test one of these out and put it through its paces. And dude, I love tools, so I'd be stupid not to try this and get my hands on this thing and try to use it. And I'm gracious enough that I get to share this with you. And really, I'm hoping that if you are thinking about buying one of these, or if you're wondering if the electric snowblowers or variants of tools are as good as people on YouTube are saying, hopefully you can see from my personal use case scenario here that they're pretty darn good. I think this snowblower is going to do exactly what it's advertised to do. If you are a person that thinks that this is going to dramatically change the way that you blow snow and clear off your driveway, it's probably not going to do that. If you have something equivalent to this already in the gas version, this is probably going to work at a similar performance level. It's just going to be using batteries, and it's going to do it very quietly and very efficiently. All right, so 2 weeks later, and now I'm editing this video. I found out that the last 2 minutes of the video that I shot cut off, but it does give me a good opportunity to kind of reaffirm that this thing is good. I was able to use it another time between then and now, and I still like this thing. 10 out of 10. Would recommend to a friend. It does exactly what it's advertised to do, and I'm really liking it. Liking it so much that I no longer want to use my old snowblower or my current snowblower that I own and that I bought quite a few years ago. And nothing wrong with this. It's a 22-inch smaller 2-stage snowblower that's obviously gas, and it did everything that I ever wanted it to do as long as I kept up with that maintenance, and I think I did pretty good on that. Drain the gas, check the spark plug, oil change every so often, check the air filter, those type of things, and it's worked pretty good. It always started first or second pull as long as you had it primed and the choke was on. But yeah, nothing wrong with this. It's just, man, how can you beat this thing? And I think that for me is the thing that I'm finding out, is that these larger battery-powered equipment is just as good as the gas variants that they're potentially replacing or are alongside, and even better in a lot of different ways. I mean, the cool thing about this, here in a few weeks, I'm going to put this thing away, and all I'm going to do is make sure that there's no batteries in it, put it away, and then in the springtime next year, I'm going to pull it out, and whenever I want to use it, put the 2 batteries in, and go. So it's really kind of a cool, attractive thing, a lot less that you have to think about, and something cool to think there. Long-term longevity of these, only time will tell, but I do have some 60-volt Toro batteries now, and so hopefully in between now and then, I've been thinking about upgrading. Since this went so well, I've been thinking about upgrading the lawnmower that I bought 2 or 3 years ago, which is the Toro Time Master. Absolutely love that thing. Maybe it's time, or it would be really cool to upgrade that one to the equivalent in the battery powered and see how that goes. I think this is where we officially end this thing off. If you like this, if you got anything out of it, hopefully you can give me a like on this. That helps me in the channel. If you have experience with these or you have thoughts about these type of machines or something like that, I'd love to hear your experiences and thoughts down in the comments. But other than that, really, I hope somebody enjoyed this, hope somebody got something out of this, and I hope to see you in another video.